What about Nick's hacker?
George, what do you want him to do?
I might just quit once and for all.
You need to man up and go to that office.
Have a guy who can sort us out.
Listening to you is the last thing this company will do.
So something happened a few days ago. I think we should start over.
Kusabotaji kazi ya mtu haitakupeleka popote.
Nipati uone vile nitaifanya vizuri sana.
Familia iko aje?
Let me go fix you something to eat. You guys are now a team. It's about getting your position back. That's a hard no.
Tiffany.
But we had agreed not to tell him until we get it sorted out.
Can I get a chance to explain myself?
And explain what?
Sina mahali pa kwenda.
Sasa unataka aje?
Sauti ya Kenya
92.9. Hii ni KBC Radio Taifa.
kila kitu maishani kina sauti yaleta furaha.
Radio.
Sauti ya elimisha yahimiza yatuleta pamoja. Sauti ya Kenya
Radio Taifa.
Sauti ya Kenya.
Amwingi huku.
Nani amesema?
Nimeambiwa nikalishe uchawi wangu hapa.
Did Mama Jane tell you that?
Na mkuje na zile title deeds mliiba. Excuse me. Kwa dingo nyinyi.
Wendo unakamuzi kwa historia.
Alinichagua mimi.
So he's now your husband because of Jabali.
Amka uende.
Mambo itaenda vizuri vile.
Ati nini? Sibia uende kwa Juju. Mimi niko na wakili. Yes. Lawrence is the one who advised me to take this step. Nakwambia tutakuwa milionea sisi.
Hiyo muombi yako ndo nataka hii mwaka.
Akizuba hakuna chochote atapata. Atatoka huko sare.
That is your plan.
Anataka to deal naye as soon as possible.
Live from the broadcasting house here in the county of Nairobi, this is KBC Lunchtime News. Glad you could make the time. This is what my colleagues and I have lined up for you at this hour. My name is Ben Troinjue. My colleague on the sign language interpretation is Byron Abuli. We begin with the drought situation in the country, where a section of learners in Mandera County has been forced to drop out of school to help their parents search for food and water as the impact of drought continues to be felt in the region. Children from parts of Mandera East, Mandera West, Banisa and Takaba are the most affected, as most of them are forced to support their parents' search for animal feed and water. Locals are appealing to the government to speed up the ongoing drought mitigation efforts to save the learners.
We are going to a crisis level, meaning if no intervention is done in the next few months, most likely life will be lost. But as the first respondent, as the county government, we'll make sure that nobody will die of hunger. Inshallah, we'll try our best. But I can tell you that we are exhausted. My appeal to our development partners, the national government and the well-wishers to come to our aid. We need support in terms of livestock feed and human feed, and support in water sector. And inshallah, we will do our best so that nobody dies of hunger in Mandera County.
Now, President William Ruto has made new appointments to various state corporation boards and revoked some of the appointments made by the previous regime. Some of the beneficiaries in the new appointments include politicians who lost in the 2022 general election and loyalists of Kenya Kwanza government. In a Gazette notice released Friday, former county governors Cleophas Lagat and Jack Raguma have been picked as chairpersons of Board of Directors of the Rivertex East Africa Limited and the Sacco Societies Regulatory Authority, respectively, for a period of 3 years.
President William Ruto's allies and election losers are the biggest beneficiaries in the latest appointments to various state agencies. Former Nandi governor, who served from 2013 to 2017, Cleophas Lagat, is now the chairperson of the board of Rivertex East Africa Limited, replacing former Nation Group Chief Executive Officer Linus Gitahi. Former Kisumu County boss Jack Ranguma has been appointed chairperson of Sacco Societies Regulatory Authority Board. In the new appointments, which has seen retired President Uhuru Kenyatta's appointees in key government institutions revoked, former Law Society of Kenya President Nelson Havi, who unsuccessfully contested for Westlands parliamentary seat, was named a member and chairperson of the board of directors of the Retirement Benefits Authority, the president revoking the appointment of Abdirahim Abdi. Former Uasin Gishu Deputy Governor Daniel Chemno will be the new chairperson to New Kenya Planters Cooperative Union, replacing Henry Kinyua. David Maina will replace Anthony Njoroge as the chairperson of the New Kenya Cooperative Creameries Limited board. In the new changes, Nasri Sahal has been appointed as the chairperson of the board of directors of Northern Waterworks Development Agency, with John Lekuton, Elias Shil, Christian Jepkoech and Osman Abdi Sirat appointed as members of the board. David Mudhoga has been replaced by James Gathaka as the chairperson of the board of directors of Tana Waterworks Development Agency. William Olemayan has been replaced by Regina Ndambuki as the chairperson of the board of directors of Tanathi Waterworks Development Agency. Lily Ngok has replaced Mudhoni Kimani as the chairperson of the board of directors of Kenya Industrial Estates for a period of 3 years. Eddie Komondi Anyanga is the new chairperson of the board of directors of the Kenya Nuclear Regulatory Authority, replacing Stephen Mwangi Karanja. Sako Bunyasi has also replaced Caroline Kariuki as chairperson of the Kenya Vision 2030 Delivery Board. Ben Chumba, Lunchtime News.
And away from that, the president is having a 3-day working tour of Nakuru County, and today it was a session with the Council of Governors. Tomorrow, he will be having the 9th ordinary session of the National and County Governments Coordinating Summit. And on Sunday, he'll crown it all with the church service in Nakuru Town. And we have our very own JJ Kyoria, who has been keeping tabs since early morning. And now we are live with John Jacob Kyoria from Naivasha. Kyoria, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We're coming to you live from Naivasha, indeed, for the inaugural retreat between the executive and the county governments or county governors, largely to deal with the issue of devolution and indeed ensuring that devolution is funded as should be. Without wasting time, let me bring in the governor for Tharaka Nithi County, that is Muthomi Njuki, to just give us a brief of what this meeting is about. Karibu sana, Governor.
Thank you very much. From the onset, I want to point out that this is a very unique meeting. A summit that has always happened for a few hours in State House today is happening in a relaxed environment where we have had the president since this morning from 8 o'clock to now. He's seated and we are talking to one another, not talking at each other on various issues in every department, where we have a conversation on how we can move forward, having the two levels of government meet at a level where they can be able to deliver services despite some of the functions being held by national government and other ones by the county government, because we are serving the same wananchi, and therefore there's need to be synergy. Currently, we are discussing a very pertinent issue of how the counties and national government have been utilizing a lot of resources, taking each other to court, where the counties and the national government both are using taxpayers' money to pay for lawyers on an issue that would have been resolved by having alternative dispute resolution by the intergovernmental technical committee. And therefore we are saying going forward we need to talk to one another so that we don't spend a lot of taxpayers' money on legal issues. In our agenda to the people of Kenya, we never told them we will make lawyers very rich with their money, which is meant to be doing other things that would benefit the monarchy directly. Therefore, we're finding it a very useful engagement, a very good summit. We have issues in health, we have issues in water, we have issues in agriculture, including distribution of fertilizer. We have issues in sports, and all of them, by the end of the day, will be in one resolution that is going to be read for what we have agreed on.
Very quickly, these are conversations largely that you have under IBEC. Tell us about the uniqueness of having this meeting in Naivasha than having the conversation during the formal IBEC meetings.
Well, this is an extension of IBEC. Generally, IBEC is usually chaired by the Deputy President, where basically we normally look at the sharing of revenue between the two levels of government in IBEC. But the summit, the issue of sharing of revenue is just one item, which actually is not on the agenda today. It's going to be on the agenda tomorrow. And therefore, an upgrade of IBEC is where now. This is like the Supreme Court, where beyond the summit, this issue cannot be deliberated on by anyone else, because the President chairs the summit and co-chairs with our chair, and it is the apex of all the intergovernmental negotiations in this country. And therefore, we expect the solutions that have been dogging both the levels of government in the implementation of the roles that are given by the people, by the Constitution, are going to be resolved here. And we don't expect anything that is going to interfere with the delivery of service to be there today.
Absolutely.
Especially this being a new government dispensation, we expect them to show a lot of goodwill, as well as the counties in collaboration.
Before I let you go, because there was a remark you made, obviously talking about conditional grants and whether they should be deposited directly to counties. Is that a concession you're seeking in this meeting?
Definitely is one of the issues we'll be extending our negotiation on, because it makes no sense to give counties conditional grants, then you have them implemented by national government. Then what is the role of the county government? Because even the rest of the monies that mostly we use in the counties, over 90% of those resources come from the national government, and therefore they are delegated and by the Constitution, and we always have structures of checks and balances in both levels.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor. Governor Muthomi Njoki of Tharaka Nithi speaking to us just about the conversation they're having inside this hall is where President Dr. William Ruto is leading the meeting that brings together the executive, that is the national executive. When you're looking at the president, the deputy president, who chairs a very critical committee that is called IBEC, and that is the apex committee, or the apex structure that deals with issues that are emanating from the counties, and particularly to work with the relationship on the relationship between the national government and the county governments. And that's just generally the conversation happening here. There will be several concessions, of course, and you remember out of a conversation had last year, there's a likelihood that counties are going to get an increase in terms of the budgetary allocation that goes to counties. When you talk about the division of revenue, there's an additional about 17 billion shillings that was to be added towards county governments and to aid the operations of the 47 county governments. The conversation continues. Obviously, after the end of the meeting, we shall have a brief from the president and indeed the governors on the concessions they have had, and particularly the symbiotic relationship that exists between the county governments and the national executive. Back to you, studio.
Thank you. That has been JJ Kuria live from Naivasha, where the head of state is having a session with the Council of Governors, and among others, they're talking about the alternative dispute resolution mechanism that now counties have adopted to clear out any issue that may have, and also something else that has come up is the alternative sources of revenue, bearing in mind that over 90% of all county allocation comes from the national government. We're keeping tabs with that. The president will be there for the next 3 days, culminating into a church service on Sunday in Nakuru. Well, in other news, leaders from Garissa County have pledged to cooperate and assist the government in the war against terrorism. The pledge came as security agencies released photos of 5 most wanted terror suspects linked to Al-Shabaab terror gang.
Leaders in Garissa County have now committed to assist the government in its war against terrorists using the area as hideout.
Wazee walisema ya kwamba wao watajitolea, watapanga wazee kadhaa katika kile kijiji na wataenda, because tunajua hawa jamaa wanakaa wapi, makampu zao wanakaa kina nani. Tunatuma timu ya wazee waende wakae na wao, waseme watoka kutoka ardhi yetu. La sivyo ni mapambano between them na wananchi na wakazi wa Fafi. Hata si serikali.
Tumekubaliana kwa kauli moja, sisi viongozi na wazee wetu, kina mama, vijana, maulamas, sheikhs, ili tupambane na Al-Shabaab kwa kauli moja.
Kwanza kabisa kuhakikisha kwamba maneno ya amani imerudi kuwa sawa. Tunataka kufukuzana na wale wakora ambao ni Al-Shabaab ambao wamejaribu kufuruka amani katika sehemu zetu. Na kwa hivyo kuanzia leo tutakuwa na hawa wazee ambao watatoka nje ili kusunguka katika vijiji na kila nyumba ili kuhubiri hiyo maneno ya amani.
The pledge coming at a time security agencies are pursuing 5 individuals believed to be affiliated to the Al-Shabaab terror gang, said to be armed and dangerous. The 5 include Ramadan Hamis Kufungwa, Isa Abdallah Ahmed alias Isa Kauni, Ahmed Omar Said alias Tabibu Odogo, Maalim Yusuf Hassan, Maalim Abbas alias Abbas Guyo. The DCI is urging members of the public to volunteer information that may lead to the arrest of the said criminals. The US and the UK governments have issued advisory warning their citizens to be on high alert, mainly in Nairobi.
And from that security note, we revisit the drought situation in the country on education, where Kajiado East MP Kakuta Maimai says many learners in the region are yet to report to school despite the disbursement of bursaries worth 18 million shillings. The lawmaker says many learners are still at home helping their parents to manage the few remaining livestock that is on the brink of starvation. Kajiado is among the regions badly affected by drought. Parents, mainly drawn from families who entirely depend on livestock as a source of livelihood, have been forced into abject poverty as their cattle succumbed to hunger due to the ongoing drought. The situation has affected learners who are now forced to stay behind as their peers continue with education.
Kuna watoto hata wajaienda shule juu hawana hizo school fees. Kuna wengine walienda na wakarudishwa juu ya hiyo school fees. Kwa hivyo mimi naona hii ni kitu ya maana na ametusaidia sana, na tunaombea Mungu atusaidie tena.
Watoto wengi mpaka sasa hivi bado hawajaripoti shule secondary kwa sababu ya kiangazi iliyokuwa. Hatuna ng'ombe zimeisha. Kuna shida kubwa sana.
Leo tumepeana basari kwa watoto 3,000. Hao watoto 3,000, if we didn't do this today, they would have stayed at home. So it's still a very big help. We are grateful for the little we have. We continue to communicate and talk with our government to make sure more money is being released so we can continue sending. If we send 3,000 today, in April we send 3,000 students, you know, you won't be surprised. By the end of the year, hata inaweza kuwa 10,000 wamepata hii basari.
Watoto wetu wako huko Machakos University.
That we now cross over to the lakeside city of Kisumu, where the Justice Emeritus David Maraga-led committee or task force that was appointed to look into the issues affecting police officers and prison officers are in Kisumu. And Wycliffe Okech has been keeping tabs with what the task force has been doing there. And now we link up with Wycliffe.
Thank you so much, Ben Troy, back in Nairobi. Of course, like you've rightly put it, now the task force being led by the former Chief Justice, rather the retired Chief Justice, that is David Maraga, is leading that team here in Kisumu today, specifically to collect the views of various groupings and also the locals here on how best the police, the National Police Service, and also the Kenya Prison Service, or the officers serving in those departments, and how best their conditions and affairs can be improved. You know, there have been cases of mental breakdown among officers, and that is one of the many things the task force will be looking into, actually, to review their terms of service and also make recommendations to the president. That is all aimed at making the officers also discharge their duties in the best way possible to the locals here. Earlier on, right now, the meeting that is going on in this hall here, this is Mama Grace Onyango Social Hall here in Kisumu, where just about 10 minutes ago the retired CJ himself arrived just 10 minutes ago together with that team, ostensibly, like I put it, to collect views from various groupings here. Those that are here include just the local members here, the religious leaders, also the elected leaders from the different groupings, border associations are also represented here. And just before he got here, we were with him at the Kisumu Maximum Prison, popularly known as Kodiaga, and he toured the facility, was looking at the facilities, the residential facilities there, and also we got a chance to speak with some of the inmates there, and finally he spoke with the prison wardens there, admitting that we were not welcomed in, but after the meeting he talked to us. He said one thing he noted from the facility is that the facilities being used there are old, and also the overly congested facilities there. He said that that prison there wasn't meant for the number that is supporting now, and those are some of the observations that they will be reviewing and making recommendations to the president, all in a bid to improve the working conditions and create an environment that will enable the officers discharge their duties in the best way possible. Well, this is a meeting that has just begun. It began earlier before the retired CJ arrived. We expect to get the beats of the proceedings underway, and we'll note every bit there. And immediately after that, we'll get the chairman of that task force to talk to us on matters of the deliberations and also resolutions from the various speakers at this public participation session. For now, I think Troy, I will hand it back to you in studio so you can continue with the bulletin, but our viewers can expect a more detailed report regarding this exercise here in our subsequent bulletin. Troy.
Thank you, Wycliffe Okech, live from Kisumu, where the David Maraga-led police task force has pitched a tent, and among others, they will be looking at matters mental wellness of officers. Wycliffe has also talked about looking into the remuneration and also congested prisons. He will be coming a little bit later with a much loaded report a little bit later in our subsequent bulletin. But in other news, Uwezo Fund committees across the country will be required to vigorously train beneficiary groups on best business practices before allocating the disbursing the government fund. The move is aimed at ensuring timely repayment of the loans to enhance growth and sustainability of the fund.
Speaking in Athi River during the disbursement of 4.9 million shillings checks to 60 groups, Uwezo Fund Chief Executive Officer Peter Lengapiani said the repayment rate nationally currently stands below average at 40%.
We have been able to disburse 7.2 billion, which has benefited 1.4 million Kenyans. 5 billion, that is about 40% nationally, although we have constituencies which are doing very well.
The CEO echoed that staff working at the fund will also commence sensitization programs among applicants to assess groups' business venture plans to aid in shortlisting qualified groups.
Mavoko is at around 62% on repayment, and this is because of the measures the committee has put in place and close follow-up of these groups, and also sensitization. That is also a very important component to ensure that groups are able to repay funds.
Mavoko constituency is among the leading regions in timely repayment rate, standing at 62%. Area MP Patrick Makau attributes the good performance to intense training of the beneficiary groups on sustainable business and collective ventures.
The culture of saving, the culture of borrowing and repaying has been what we have been preaching to our groups. And we're also encouraging other Kenyans. Once you borrow from Women Fund, Youth Fund, Wezo Fund, it's important that you repay so that you reapply. You apply for more. Because in repaying, there is growth. For example, there are groups here who started with 50,000. And now today we have seen them receive 350,000 because they have been repaying and their business have been growing. So once business grows, you need more capital. And that's what we've been giving them.
Poor planning, lack of plan, conflict of interest, and subdividing the money among individual members has been cited as a major stumbling block leading to low repayment.
And moving on, residents of the Bulapesa area of Isiolo are up in arms over what they term as poor workmanship by the contractor and engineer who are responsible for the cable paving the road joining Kambi Ajuya to Isiolo town through Kulamawe. They are demanding that the mess be corrected immediately before the onset of the March-April rains. Led by area manager Abdi Sheikh, the residents argued that the water paths were being intentionally redirected in favor of a few wealthy individuals who have built story buildings along the Kibro Road instead of constructing the drainage channels beside the Kibro all the way to Marire Valley.
Huzuni kubwa kuona maji ikikata kona. Mimi sijawahi ona maji ikikata kona maisha yangu. Ndio naona leo maji kawaida huwa inakuanga na drainage ikifuata barabara. Lakini hii ya huku imekuwa ni ajabu sana, maana tunaona inapandishwa hata mlima. Hakuna kitu hatutawahi ona Isiolo, tumeona maajabu ya kila aina. Lakini kile ambayo tumeshindwa na kusahau, miaka 3 iliyopita ama 4 iliyopita tumepoteza zaidi ya watu 13. Na iko kwa kumbukumbu mpaka saa hii. Na nashindwa ule mwenye anapatiana kazi kama hii hakumbuki ya kwamba hiyo watu tulipoteza ni watu muhimu katika jamii. Naomba kilio yetu ifike kwa county commissioner na governor na wale viongozi ambao wako hapa waje washuhudie hii dhulma ambayo tunafanywa kama wakazi wa Bulapesa. Na tumezoea kudhulumiwa. Bulapesa miaka nenda miaka rudi ni dhulma ni hii. Sasa ile inatustua leo ni hii ambaye sasa tunaoneshwa kifo tukiwa tunaona na macho. Kwa hivyo
Elsewhere, fish traders in Migori town are accusing the county of targeting their business through illegal displacement. The traders claim the county has failed to provide them with an alternative area of operation after evicting them from the Matatu terminus. They now want, the county administration to allow them back into the terminus because of its high traffic. However, Migori County Municipality official George Olumwa noted that the county was organizing the management to ensure that sanity is restored. Olumwa said the county has already designated markets for fishmongers and other traders.
Ile moto wanatumia ni tofauti na hii moto au watu wanachoma samaki wanatumia. That is the question. Kwa sababu hawa sijasikia wakitolewa. Ukitembea hapo utapata wanakanga njugu, wanachoma mahindi. So I don't know the type of fire these people are using, which is so different from this one these people are using here.
swali ninauliza Dr. Ochilo, tuone vile tunaongea hivi, tunahangaika sisi, ni mama wazazi, tuko na watoto. Hata saa hizo watoto wetu hawajaenda shuleni. Badala kuuza tunahangaishwa na beach na mama Guka, sijui na bunge la wananchi.
Tunataka kuwaambia serikali ya juu atusaidie kwa sababu sasa hakuna mahali tunaweza kuuza.
Rearranging the spaces so that we ensure that the highway, which is the international highway connecting Kenya and Tanzania, is well utilized. So we need to have every business stations at the right place.
Very well, at about 26 minutes past the top of the hour, we are taking our first break. But don't go away, we still have more news, still have business, and also the latest from the world of sports.
To get the pit as your skiza tune, dial star 811 star 397 hash.
You may be in the pit. You do not see how you could get out. But the good news is that you do not have to get by yourself. The Most High God is about to lift you out. He's about to turn the medical report. He's about to free you. He's about to open new doors, bringing new opportunities, new relationships. The pit is not your destination. Get ready to rise.
To get the pit, dial star 811 star 397 hash. Star 811 star 397 hash.
Nataka sasa kuziende ndio ni muokalize, si ndio?
Kuna lugha wamejifundisha ya mtaani inaitwa sembete. Si umalizie.
Mimi sielewi kile unasema.
Inaitwa sembetengi.
Wakati unakuja kutembelewa na watu hospital, na wakakuwekea sumu, unakuja kusema ni mimi. Mimi uliniona hapo nikikuwekea sumu.
Madoki waliconfirm ni wewe Mzabula.
Very good. Na hizo madoki, vile silikuja hapo. Mimi niliongea na mtu yeyote.
Wewe, nani amesema madogi? Amesema madoki, madokta.
Huyo mtu, kwa nini hamkumleta hapa kwa koti? Kwa sababu yeye alikuwa na nini? Analeta hiyo chakula. Huyo mtu.
Mtu gani?
Huyo mtu mnasema alileta hiyo chakula.
Si ndio wewe ndio ulikuwa umeleta?
Come on. Watu si wanafanananga.
You are a unique human being.
Please.
Very unique.
Sasa kama tuzobaka diskwani hata waacha ukwa kisi. Wewe unalobomba tuacha uwaka ta. Did I give you injection of Latatat? Did I give you the
Tumia tu Kiswahili jamani.
What about Nick's hacker?
George, what do you want him to do?
I might just quit once and for all.
You need to man up and go to that office.
I have a guy who can sort us out.
Listening to you is the last thing this company will do.
So something happened a few days ago. I think we should start over.
Kusabotaji kazi ya mtu haitakupeleka popote.
Nipatie uone vile nitaifanya vizuri sana.
Familia iko aje?
Let me go fix you something to eat. You guys are now a team, huh? It's about getting your position back. That's a hard no.
Tiffany.
But we had agreed not to tell him until we get it sorted out.
Can I get a chance to explain myself?
And explain what?
Sasa unataka aje?
Remember that you are only a farm boy. She's got someone else for other things, and her boyfriend is Reynaldo.
Ruben, go with this gentleman and help him with whatever he needs. Now we can go to the office and you can tell me all about those ideas that you were telling me about earlier.
You're related to the Montoyas, if you know what I mean. Cosa Fabiola.
Well, we talked about that before, and you said there was no problem.
I'm sure some women out there are pulling their hair out for your veterinarian. Oh, well then, they're going to go bald. A man like him doesn't go unnoticed. I know what I'm seeing.
It's not every day that you can get a well-educated, pleasant man. And handsome, too. Besides, the only time I saw him talking to another woman was with your dad's wife, Malena.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Welcome back. Moving on, Vihiga County Governor Wilbur Otichilo is urging locals to be on the lookout for drug thieves and their accomplices in government hospitals. Otichilo warned that despite efforts to avert loss of drugs from county health institutions, the vice was still rampant, and as such, there was need for everyone to be on the lookout. He spoke as he flagged off assorted drugs worth 25 million shillings from KEMSA. Meanwhile, Nutrition International is urging a paradigm shift on feeding habits in Vihiga County to ensure sound nutrition for infants and toddlers in the county. Achola Simon with that report.
The Vihiga County Governor flagged off assorted medicine worth 25 million shillings from KEMSA that he says will go a long way in ensuring the locals can access quality but affordable medicine in the county health institutions.
Tumekuwa na changamoto kubwa ya madawa kwa zahanati zetu za afya kwa kaunti mzima. Imekuwa muda kabla hatujapata madawa, na hii changamoto ilitokea kwa sababu mbalimbali. Lakini kitu ya muhimu ni kwamba leo tunapata haya madawa na tunasisambaza kwa zahanati zetu 75 siku ya leo.
All facilities will be able to get these drugs. So as we go out there, inform them that now we have the drugs, which are free, paid by the governor, Dr. Otichilo.
The governor said despite spirited efforts to curb drug theft in the county hospitals, the vice was still rampant in the county and there was need for concerted efforts to root it out.
Wizi wa madawa ulipungua na natarajia kwamba itapungua kabisa ndio tusiwe na wizi wote wa madawa. Lakini wale wachache ambao watajaribu, mimi nataka kutoa onyo kwamba sisi tuko imara, tunajua mahali mnapeleka hizo madawa, tunajua hizo chemists ambazo zinahusika kwa wizi, na tutaweka watu wetu kwa hizo areas, na hata huko pahali zahanati ziko, naambia wananchi kwa hizo sehemu wawe macho. Hii madawa ni madawa yao, wawe macho. Wakiona dawa yote ama mfanyakazi wetu wote akitoka kwa hiyo dispensary ama zahanati na madawa kwa carton ama mahali popote, wamesimamisha, wajue zinaenda wapi.
In the meantime, Nutrition International is calling for better feeding habits amongst infants and toddlers in Vihiga County to improve their health.
So far so good. We've had very good results. The prevalence of undernutrition in children has reduced from 23% to 19%. The prevalence of teenage pregnancies has also reduced by about 5 percentage points. We have also had an increase in skilled birth delivery for mothers, and that is now at 97%. We started at about 50%, and most importantly, we've had a reduction in maternal and infant mortality.
A lot of progress, and nutrition now is being mainstreamed in all our sectors of our economy in the county, and it has played a very crucial role in improving the health welfare of our people.
Vihiga County is one of the 14 counties where the organization is implementing a multi-million-dollar project to enhance awareness on nutrition. Achola Simon, Lunchtime News.
Still in Vihiga County, the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation KBC has entered into a memorandum of understanding with Vihiga County to enable timely dissemination of information on service delivery in the county. This is a continuation of an aggressive strategy by the national broadcaster to ensure Kenyans in the counties actively participate in the enhancement of devolution.
In this kind of partnership,
The Kenya Broadcasting Corporation is aggressively pursuing a memorandum of understanding with counties to help disseminate service-based information from the respective counties. Speaking as they signed the memorandum of understanding with Vihiga County to help disseminate information from the county, Kenya Broadcasting Corporation Radio Programs Manager Mary Daraja said the latest strategy by the national broadcaster is in line with its mandate of ensuring the taxpayer is enlightened on what the government is doing to fulfill its mandate.
We have decided, we are deliberate on partnering with counties across the country, that is the 47 counties, in disseminating information about counties, what they are doing, what their programs are, what they have done so far, and how devolution is changing lives in the counties.
I feel more stable, and now my focus is on development, changing the lives of people of Vihiga County. And I feel this period that I'm now a second-term governor is the period now I need to communicate with the people of Vihiga and the rest of the country what we are doing and how best we can improve.
Daraja also revealed that the strategy will provide the perfect platform for counties to benchmark virtually on the best practices. Vihiga County Governor Wilbur Tichilo hailed the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation for its steadfastness in dissemination of unbiased grassroots information.
So KBC will provide a platform for benchmarking, not only for the executive, but also the county assemblies, how they are running their proceedings within the assemblies, and how they make laws within the assemblies. One county can copy or learn from the other county so that we make our counties better and ensure that people benefit from the expertise within the counties.
It is time now we had, people themselves saying what they think about devolution, whether it is doing well, or whether we are moving forward, or whether we are not moving forward. Some of the projects we do, I would like the people themselves to say whether those projects have an impact in their lives, or they are just projects that have been done. So that calls for independent, where we have an independent voice that goes to the people. And the people say, okay, this government is doing well. They put this health center here and it's doing well.
KBC has already entered into a similar agreement with Turkana County. Achola Simon, Lunchtime News, Vihiga County.
Now, the innovation industry has rapidly grown over the years, with most of the innovations being fueled by young minds. On this week's Young and Industrious, we look at Samuel Otieno, a 30-year-old student at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, JKUAT, who has designed a special control unit that detects M-Pesa transactions at any automated teller machine for dispensing milk, water, cooking oil, and other products. Take a look.
We make our circuit. First of all, we take a pure copper clad that is very plain.
From the mere scratch of a copper clad to chemical etching, ironing, drilling, programming, and finally mounting the control unit to the ATM machines, which automatically detects the amount of oil to discharge depending on the amount paid via M-Pesa. Samuel takes us through the whole process.
Our system that works with the Lipana M-Pesa is one that can be installed somewhere and left.
So we do make the programming it, then we fix everything onto it before mounting it here.
To reduce costs, Samuel and his team majorly use locally available material and only import the electric components from China and Singapore. Now, due to hard economic times and pricing, they are forced to improvise acetone, which is a key component in the etching process with nail polish remover.
But in our case, acetone is very expensive, so instead of that, there is nail polish remover.
The idea, which was inspired by the Japanese unmanned ATMs and the need to make life more bearable for low-income earners, Samuel embarked on this journey and so far has assembled and sold over 80 ATMs perfectly installed with his control unit technology.
We realized that we need to do something so that we can help the society around. And there's the issue of food shortage. Sometimes food shortage comes because we can't afford it.
The use of locally available material enables him to sell one machine at 10,000 shillings less than he would have sold were he to import every raw material.
We make everything by ourselves. We make everything. Some things sometimes we source in case we have urgency for the demand. Controllers, we cannot outsource them.
No journey is without challenges, and Samuel has had his fair share of the same.
From 2019 to 2022, we only sold 4 machines.
With the high cost of cooking oil ATMs are a saving grace to many Kenyans who can purchase oil from as low as 10 shillings.
Ukija na 50 unaenda kupika chakula. Ukikuja na 30 wanakuwekea. Hiyo ndio inatufurahisha.
Our ATMs comes with a cold press system that you just feed the raw material. Let's say groundnut or sunflower. Then, once you fed the raw material, you can just dispense the oil from the machine.
With a little push and support, there is much potential in the Kenyan youths. From the mere scratch of a copper clad to these ATMs, Samuel describes it as an intensive process, but the end result is quite profitable. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Wangari Washuri.
Very impressive. Moving on, the National Treasury has slashed the 2022-2023 supplementary budget by more than 13 billion shillings. Treasury Cabinet Secretary Njuguna Ndung'u says the reduction will realign public expenditure plans to ensure it remains within a sustainable fiscal path. Treasury plans to allocate more than 30% of the budget to development, while the rest will be gobbled up by recurrent expenditure.
The supplementary budget 2022-2023 released by the National Treasury shows an increase in spending of 93 billion shillings. Under the plan, external borrowing has increased from 281 billion shillings to 379 billion. The document notes a revision of expenditures and net lending from 24% to 23.4% of the GDP. Similarly, grant projections have been revised from 6.2% to 5.7%. Net foreign financing has been revised upwards to 2.7% from 2% of the gross domestic product. Net domestic financing has been revised down from 4.2% to 3%. Under the planned expenditure plan, the State Department for Cooperatives, where the Hustler Fund is domiciled, has been allocated 22 billion shillings more for onward lending. To deal with the raging drought, the National Treasury has increased allocation to the State Department for arid and semi-arid lands. The department has seen budget increased by 60% to 16.7 billion shillings. Another winner is the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, which has seen its budget increased by 41.7 billion to cater for fuel subsidies. The Treasury says the planned external borrowing will be solely used for development expenditure. The government says it will continue to make tax reforms as per the country's needs to improve the tax revenue base. Hibak Said for Lunchtime News.
Now, with a few days to Valentine's, what are your Valentine plans? Does Malindi ring a bell? Malindi offers a tranquility of the countryside blended with the beach life and wildlife, as Irene Mchuma-Odim highlights on today's episode of Magical Scenes.
The magnificent iBirds view of Malindi is adorable, be it to a first-time visitor or a repeat client to this part of Kenya.
I don't care about the past.
Whether it is for pre-Valentine's, Valentine's, or post-Valentine's, fun and nature appreciation, Malindi would hardly disappoint.
And you must forgive me too if we wanna try to put things back the way they.
Malindi play host to top-rank beaches owing to the unmatched serenity just it for a tropical holiday.
There is a lot you would do from these grounds. You would do sports by the beach. You would do beach walk. Besides enjoying the Indian Ocean, you would put a signature that would be there for a while.
Out of all the good we had, the only key track.
February, the month associated with Valentine's, is characterized with dry weather patterns. Malindi is a destination you would consider for a memorable Valentine edition 2023. The Indian Ocean waters in Malindi are rich in coral gardens, which are home to underwater life. Crabs are also a beautiful sanctuary right by the beach.
Give me too, if we wanna.
Malindi has top-of-the-range hotels for families, friends, and colleagues.
'Cause there's no sense in going over and over.
The creativity behind such scenery is matched to international class. You can now plan for your next vacation. Will it be Malindi?
We're all trying our best to give the best services, make sure that the clients that are coming from all over the world, not only from Kenya, are happy and they go away with an experience, not only a holiday but an experience. There's a lot to do around here in terms of entertainment, experiences you can do, adventures, tours, lots of things to see, from history to nature, to the beauty of the sea, the marine park, the safaris. We can offer a lot.
We serve all cuisine. You will get local cuisines, you will get international, you will get even Indian cuisine, you will get even Spanish if you want.
Irene Mchuma-Odim, Magical Sense.
What do you think? Anyway, away from that, Egypt's annual inflation jumped to record levels as the country continues to struggle with price increase and currency depreciation. The cost of bread and cereals rose to an average of 6.6%, while the price of meat and poultry soared 20.6%. Here are these and other news making headlines from across Africa.
As wheat importer, with most of its imports traditionally coming from Eastern Europe, has been hit hard by years of government austerity, the coronavirus pandemic, and the fallout from the war in Ukraine. The Central Agency for Mobilization and Statistics released figures showing that annual inflation rose to 26.5% last month from 21.9%. Nearly 30% of Egyptians live in poverty. Low-income Egyptian households are the hardest hit by these sustained increases. Many banks have imposed limits on foreign money withdrawals, facing a shortage of foreign currency. Due to years of instability, the country only benefits from 45,000 barrels out of an annual production of about 150,000 to 170,000 barrels. This has posed as a crisis in the country as many people depend on the oil for survival. Finally, South Africa's economic hub Gauteng is bearing the brunt of water shortages caused by dwindling reservoir levels due to high demand of water. This water insecurity risk is worsened by increasing climate change. Water and Environment Manager for the Community Action Network, Watercan, believes the cause for the crisis are factors like aging infrastructure and inequality. To solve the issue of water shortage, Aqua Solutions founding director developed a plant that purifies acidic water disposed by mines, and this purified water can be used for drinking and irrigation.
Further afield, 11th hour negotiations between Pakistan and the International Monetary Fund IMF have failed to unlock $1.1 billion in crucial funds aimed at preventing the country from going bankrupt. A deepening economic crisis has all but emptied Pakistan's foreign exchange reserves, leaving it barely enough dollars to cover a month of imports, and it is struggling to service sky-high levels of foreign debt. Here are the details of this and other stories happening from around the world.
The International Monetary Fund team says considerable progress had been made after 10 days of talks. The head of the IMF mission says virtual discussions will continue in the coming days. Although there was no financial lifeboat, both sides tried to paint the meeting positively. Pakistan's finance minister told a news conference the country had been given a detailed roadmap. He talked of painful but necessary reforms that the IMF wants to see action and commitments from Pakistan before it commits to lending more money. In January, annual inflation in Pakistan soared to over 27%, the highest it's been in Pakistan since 1975, and there are mounting fears for the economy in a pivotal election year. Meanwhile, sales of second-hand cars in the UK fell sharply last year as fewer used models came onto the market, as industry figures show. A shortage of parts driven by COVID meant fewer new cars were produced, and people hung on to their cars longer as they waited to upgrade. Some 6.9 million used cars changed hands in the UK, down from 7.5 million in 2021. At the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, car dealerships were closed and production lines shut down. Then, as the world began to open up, a shortage of computer chips caused further disruption. Sales of new vehicles slumped to a 30-year low in 2022. And finally, Yahoo plans to lay off more than 20% of its total workforce as part of a major restructuring of its art tech division. The job cuts will impact nearly 50% of Yahoo's art tech employees by the end of this year, including nearly 1,000 employees this week. Yahoo, which is owned by a private equity firm, Apollo Global Management, since a $5 billion buyout in 2021, says the move will enable the company to narrow its focus and investment on its flagship ad business called DSP, or Demand Side Platform. For Channel 1 News, Amwangare Washuri.
And in sports, Sam Kerr scored 4 goals as Chelsea women team thrashed West Ham 7 goals to nil to reach a 4th successful Continental League Cup final. Elsewhere, Canadians Nick Taylor and Adam Hadwin lead in the US PGA Tour Phoenix Open.
Lauren James. Chelsea women football team will face Arsenal in the Continental League Cup final after thrashing West Ham 7-0 in the semi-finals. In Saudi Arabia, former Manchester United forward Cristiano Ronaldo scored 4 goals as Al Nassr beat Al Wahda 4-0 in the Saudi Pro League. The Portuguese star has now scored a landmark of 503 league goals for 5 different clubs in 5 different leagues. Elsewhere, Canadians Nick Taylor and Adam Hadwin are leading in the ongoing USPGA Tour Phoenix Open, while US golfer Alexander Victor Schauffele is third.
Oh, what touch from Mitchell. That'll be left for his birdie here at 15.
Also encouraged a little bit more left to right. But that also encourages the spin. Coming in left to the flagstick, one big bounce. Oh, they love it, don't they? They love the sizzle.
Fantastic shot.
In Martyrs Rugby, Scotland head to their match against Wales at Murrayfield on Saturday, having beat England 29-23 last week.
Jamie Batty, Simon Bergen on to new front row for Scotland. England are offside here. So they've got this advantage for Ben White. Jimmy Ritchie chops inside, brought down by Mako Vunipola. Ben White to Batty. Finn Russell plays it into the space where Kyle Stalo is almost. Yeah, Christmas Eve he picked up an injury, and here's Finn Russell, and it's 1 point again. Freddie Stewart makes the tackle. Now Finn Russell. Oh, there's lots of blue.
And on that note, we wrap up KBC Lunchtime News. Thank you so much for making time. Kindly do check out our socials and also make a date with us at 4, 7, and 9 p.m. for more news. Thank you so much. My name is Bentroy Njoe, and Byron Abuli has been our sign language interpreter for these live newscasts.
George, what do you want him to do?
I might just quit once and for all.
You need to man up and go to that office.
Have a guy who can sort us out.
Listening to you is the last thing this company will do.
So something happened a few days ago. I think we should start over.
Kusabotaji kazi ya mtu haitakupeleka popote.
Nipatie muone vile nitaifanya vizuri sana.
Familia iko aje?
Let me go fix you something to eat. You guys are now a team, huh? It's about getting your position back. That's a hard no.
Tiffany. But we had agreed not to tell him until we get it sorted out.
Can I get a chance to explain myself?
And explain what?
Sasa unataka aje?
Hiya. Lady Antibella, you're here.
Michelle, where else am I supposed to be?
See, we were told that.
Michelle. She's a shitty. So it's true that there was a discussion in this class about me?
Discussion? What discussion?
Adito. When you don't remember what you were told this?
Keep quiet. Let me ask you something. Do you really want to be my friend?
Of course, I want you to be my very best friend so that you can be serving me tea.
Why can't you just lead us in the normal way?
Which is?
For example, you can say, good morning, students. And then we say, good morning, back to you, mwalimu.
My name is Bella Nashipai. I'm 11 years old. I go to SK Bishop Karuki Academy, and I also train in Sports New Talent Academy. When I was a learner, it was quite difficult, but I also had a coach who trained me, and I was able to now skate well.
What do you fear? when you are scared, how do you behave?
Today I'm going to show you guys on how to make the yummiest drop corns, which are going to be amazing, crispy, soft in the inside, and I'm sure you guys will enjoy.
I'm going to teach you how to make a love bear.
Brought dead to brought. The sun is extremely hot and the seasons have changed a lot.
Nikiwa ngali mchanga, Mungu anipe uhai, nije kuitimiza.
Abantu ba Mintombo Yamore.
Your favorite Ekegusi station, Minto FM, is now at your doorstep. Enjoy the hottest Kisi music, informative and entertaining shows, and reliable news only on Minto FM. Tune in to Minto FM on 91.7 FM in Nyamira, Kisii, and its environs. Minto FM, in Nyamira.
Welcome to the Cynthia Nyamai Show. We are still celebrating women, and we could do this the whole year. Our guest today is going to teach us something simple about love. People say that women are so emotional and so on, but you know what? The first step to happiness is falling in love with yourself. Let's find out more about our guest.